So friends, day one of Donald Trump's fraud trial in New York, it was a doozy. That's a legal term. Let's talk about it, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, I have a few observations about day one of Donald Trump's fraud trial in New York. This is the case that was brought against him by New York Attorney General Letitia James and is being presided over by Judge Arthur Engoron. And I want to start where the New York Times reporting started today. Headline, Trump's fraud trial starts with attacks on Attorney General and judge. And that article begins, the trials of Donald Trump began Monday in a New York courtroom where the former president made an appearance to fight the first several government actions against him, a civil case that imperils his company and threatens his image as a master of the business world. The case, brought by Letitia James, New York's Attorney General, takes aim at Mr. Trump's boasts about his net worth, accusing the former president of crossing from hyperbole into fraud. In some years, the Attorney General's office contends Mr. Trump, his adult sons, and their family business inflated his riches by more than $2 billion so they could secure favorable terms from banks and bragging rights about his overall wealth. Quote, year after year, loan after loan, defendants misrepresented Mr. Trump's net worth, Kevin Wallace, a lead lawyer for Ms. James, said during opening statements on Monday morning. He noted that while it might be one thing to exaggerate for a television audience or Forbes magazine's list of the richest people, you cannot do it while conducting business in the state of New York. And friends, circling back for just a minute to the New York Times headline, Trump's fraud trial starts with attacks on Attorney General and judge. Here is what defendant Trump said as he was entering the courthouse. Quote, you ought to go after this Attorney General because she's turning off everybody for coming in. Close quote. And there it is, friends. Donald Trump's dangerous rhetoric on full display. It continues unabated. You know, we saw what happened when he directed his supporters to go to the Capitol and stop the steal. We saw what they did. Now, he tells his supporters to, quote, go after this AG. When will the criminal justice system step up? When will it act to stop Donald Trump's dangerous, indeed deadly, rhetoric? But let's move on to another topic. Let's look briefly at the substance of Donald Trump's opening statement, which was delivered by one of his attorney, a guy named Christopher Kise. And by the way, this is the same Trump attorney, Chris Kise, who was sanctioned in this case by Judge Engoron for his conduct during some earlier litigation in this case. There it is, ordered that plaintiff's motion, plaintiff is Attorney General James, plaintiff's motion for sanctions is granted, sanctioning, among other Trump lawyers, Christopher M. Kise in the amount of $7,500. Attorney Kise must be very proud. So here is just some of Kise's opening statement on behalf of Donald Trump, as reported by NBC News. Trump's attorney, Chris Kise, delivered the opening statement for the defense. He argued that the defense interprets the evidence differently and that it maintains that Trump made billions of dollars by being right about real estate investments and building one of the most successful real estate empires in the world. Kise reiterated that the defense believes that the evidence will show no material fraud. He said that one witness, Eli Bartov, an accounting professor at NYU, will show that there is no such thing as objective valuation, and the court will also hear that this agreement is not fraud. There are different ways to value a given property, he said, and that there can be no intent to defraud. Okay, Chris, let me get this straight. Maybe I'm not so good with numbers. I'm not an accountant or anything. But you say that there really is no objective valuation that can be placed on property. Okay, so I guess if Donald Trump went to a bank, hypothetically speaking, and told that bank, oh, my property, it's worth $100 million. And he was making that representation because he wanted to secure really favorable loan terms from the bank. And then the next day, Donald Trump turned around and told the tax authorities that that same piece of property that he told the bank was valued at $100 million, he told the tax authorities, yeah, that property, it's worth about $1 million. So please don't tax me so much on the property. Chris Kise said, well, come on, there's no objective valuation that can be placed on property. No, but you know what, Chris? There is fraud. There are fraudulent representations, and what Donald Trump was doing was fraud, rampant fraud, obvious fraud, transparent fraud, illegal fraud. So, you can quibble with the rules of accounting and say, well, there's no objective valuation. No, but you know what? There is fraud. So you know what, friends? Donald Trump and Don Jr. and Eric will be held accountable, not for legitimate discrepancies in the valuation of their properties, but for their runaway fraud. Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.